Oh, if only the internet could convey scent. Today I'm making rosemary and garlic rolls. We're going to need rosemary, of course, either fresh or dried. I haven't made this specific recipe with dried rosemary yet, but from other recipes I've used it on, I know dried rosemary is pretty intense, so use a light touch. Besides rosemary, you'll also need garlic, olive oil and salt. For now. We're making the flavor first and we'll worry about the rolls tomorrow. Alright, get 2 sprigs of rosemary and remove any woody bits. Get the garlic and peel 5 or 6 cloves. Now you'll need a blender of some kind. Add rosemary, garlic, a teaspoon of sea salt and some olive oil. And blend for a long time. Scrape down the sides, add a little more olive oil. We're aiming for a soupy consistency here. Try to stay on task and not get distracted by the delicious scent. And here we have our extreme flavor sauce. Today I'm only making it for this recipe, but generally this is something I make quite a lot of, so I have it in stock for cooking. To make it last, I turn it into ice cubes. Then I can make a bunch one day and have flavor for months. Life hacked. So yeah, put a teaspoonful of this in each ice cube indent and put it in the freezer overnight. Alright, now let's get to the baking. Ingredients are flour, dry yeast, or fresh if you prefer, olive oil, salt, and about 300 milliliter of warm water. Sometimes you need a little more and sometimes a little less, but about 300 milliliter is a good place to start. You'll need a big bowl and sift the flour. If you look at my older videos, I didn't used to sift much, but since I got this big one, it's really easy and quick. Now I do. So the message is, if you want to sift the flour, do it. Use a spoon to make a little well in the flour. Put the yeast in there and add a little warm water. Cover with a kitchen towel and let the yeast get used to its new circumstances. When you uncover, you should see some bubbles and smell that yeasty scent. Add salt and oil and start stirring. Add water bit by bit as you need it, but not too much so the dough doesn't get too runny. Cover your hands with olive oil. It's good for the skin and makes kneading dough much less annoying. Knead until a dough forms with no lumps. Cover again with a kitchen towel and let it sit in a warm place for an hour to an hour and a half, or whenever you remember you have dough waiting for you. Look at him, gorgeous. Dust with a little flour and knead well until the dough starts springing back a little when pulled. When things get sticky, add a little flour or a few drops of olive oil so you can keep going. Dust a board with flour and get out the frozen rosemary garlic mix. Is the freezing necessary, you ask? Well, it makes things a lot less messy, but if you're more dexterous than I am, you can just add a teaspoon of unfrozen mix to each roll. But I like freezing because it makes things easier. Use a dough card or a butter knife to split the dough into equal parts. As you'll see in a bit, I did a very poor job of it, but you'll do better, I'm sure. Now roll into rolls. Dislodge a garlicky ice cube. Grab a roll. Let's make a little space for ourselves. Alright. Flatten out the roll, place a garlicky ice cube in the center and re-roll to cover it. If you're wondering why I'm going through this whole to-do when I could just put some garlic and rosemary in the dough, well, see, the thing is, whenever I did that, there were bits of garlic and rosemary on the outside of the roll and they get burnt in the oven during baking, and charred rosemary is really hard, so there are these hard bits of char on the bread and I just really didn't like that. Like this, you've got a center of flavor that infuses the bread from the inside out and no charred bits. If you don't mind charred bits, then yes, it's much quicker and easier to just add garlic and rosemary to the dough. Place the filled and formed rolls in a baking dish and paint the sides where the rolls touch with olive oil. That'll make it easier to separate them later. Once you're all done, cover the rolls and let them rest for 20 minutes. Use the time to preheat the oven to 170 degrees Celsius. Then bake the rolls for 45 minutes. Look at these beautiful babies. Give them a few minutes to cool a little, just long enough so you don't burn your mouth, but when they are still a little warm, heaven. These go great with dinner or as a quick lunch, but make sure to share with the people who live with you so that they can't complain about the garlic breath. Thank you so much for watching. If you decide to try this recipe, do let me know how it turned out for you. And if you enjoyed this video, why not subscribe?